It is the Anfield Wrap after Liverpool have gone to Tottenham Hotspur and won by 2-1. A fantastic victory for the Reds in the round, given the picture for the entire weekend. Excellent stuff, but obviously with a dark side to it as well. The Alexander Isak injury continues to affect our thoughts, and we'll be getting onto that and transfer-based stuff later on in the show. I've got Rob Gutmann, Pete Bolster, I've got John Gibbons, and we are partnered with Peloton, John, and we're very happy to be so.
Yeah, really kind of to partner with us all year into next season as well. I know they've had the big year bringing out the Cross Trainer series, which is bringing everything together in one home. So people might think of the Peloton as being a bike or the tread machines, but this allows you to do everything. We had a look at one, didn't we, when we were down there, the squeeze swivels around. So 1 minute you can be on the bike, the next doing a yoga session. It's that versatile.
It is indeed.
It's incredible. They've also got Peloton IQ now, which is like an AI personal trainer. So it studies your form. It has a field day with me. Honestly, lad, what are you doing? I was like, why is mine Scouse?
Yeah.
Having a go at me. No, it's much kinder than that, but there you are, just to make sure that you're doing everything correctly. Also, within our own community, we have got the Peloton group, so if you download the app, you can join the Anfield Wrap team. We're going to be doing something exciting in January. We've got more tickets to give away for the Newcastle game at the end of the month, so we're going to be doing something about that. And I'm not going to do like an necessarily a distance challenge or anything like that. It's just all going to be about, it's January, we've had a big Christmas, let's get back on the bike /tread /yoga / walking outside, whatever it is you want to do. It's just going to be all about doing bits of activity, and we've got some tickets for Newcastle to give away.
I'm excited.
Download the app.
First time I've heard about this. It's good news.
Oh yeah, I had a big
curious about the yoga. How does Peloton yoga work, John?
Well, you can. So the screen on the Peloton bike, you can spin it around, you see, and then so you spin it around, and then you can just do.
Tells you to do bits.
Do a yoga class with them, with one of the lovely people.
I'm up for that.
Yeah.
Well, there we are. Let's get you.
See, Leanne's had a baby as well.
Yep. Congratulations to her.
Congratulations.
Leanne's
our favourite instructor.
By a distance. Absolutely loves Supergrass. Genuinely loves Supergrass.
Well,
yes, she's real. Yes, she's real.
AIs can have babies.
No, you don't be getting the AI confused. That's just your personal trainer.
Oh, okay.
All the instructors are real. They go to Peloton. They do in London or New York or whatever, and they do the classes for a few people. But then
and she is banging into Supergrass, which is why me and John are.
She's on maternity.
She's on maternity.
Listening to Supergrass at home.
All right. So I want to move on and do Tottenham 1, Liverpool 2. First and foremost, John, the points. The table looks markedly better. It's what happens when you're in this little run. Is when you are battling around fourth place. You've got to remember that part of the reason why you're battling around for fourth is because you drop points, but the teams that you're battling with, they drop points as well. And Liverpool's weekend really couldn't have gone much better.
Yeah, that's it. It doesn't take much, does it, for the table to look a little bit healthier, and we always knew that you put a couple of wins together. Also, when you're at the top, you're just fighting one other team, and they can't play each other because there's only one of them normally, unless you're in sort of a bit of a freeway battle. But then even then, it's also less likely. But when you are a bit low on the table, you find that the teams around you, just law of averages, just end up sort of playing each other a little bit more, and so that's helpful at the moment. So you're watching, for example, the Villa Man United game, you're like, well, someone's dropping points who's near or where we'd like to be in Aston Villa's case, and so yeah, it is looking much better, and that's why I'm positive at the moment. I understand that everyone's not. The performances aren't perfect. The last 10 minutes certainly weren't, but I just think with the run that they went on, it's great that they're getting points on the board, and it's a little bit of luck as well. But then we weren't getting much. It's nice to get a few bounces.
Yeah,
I feel like that's how the season sort of ended up going. There was times when we weren't doing well enough, but also we weren't getting a lot. Now it's turned our way a little bit as well. But there's also good individual performances as well, and yeah, it just looks much better, and that's a positive thing.
What happens is that you leave teams behind. Tottenham are a Champions League team. We need to remember that. They finished 17th last year, Pete, but they're a Champions League team by virtue of the fact that they won the Europa League. I'm sure Thomas Frank's number one KPI for the year from his bosses will have been, we want to get back into that Champions League. I sort of think now they're none of our business. We've been to their gaff. We've got the gap that we've got on them. We should not be looking at them again this season other than when we play them at Anfield.
Yeah, well, 100%. I think also as well, why it was so important to beat Spurs away was you've got Wolves at home next and you've got Leeds at home on New Year's Day. So you've got a few victories that you can realistically think to yourself that you can put together. So not only are you leaving them behind, you're potentially leaving a couple of other sides behind as well, because I think we've just gone 3 points ahead of Man United, and at this stage of the season, I shouldn't be made up saying that, but we are where we are, and I'm just glad we're back above them, and there's a bit of a gap between us. So no, it's you can start to look above where you are in the table now and start to think, where can we get within touching distance, and where I'd like to see Liverpool now is to make sure we're keeping touching distance with firstly Aston Villa and then City and Arsenal, and see how much you can close that gap. Whether it's realistic or not, we can go on a big 10-game winning run is another question. But right now, Liverpool are living week to week, and that's what it very much feels like. That's very much what we did on Saturday, isn't it?
Living week to week is just the thing at the minute. I mean, you sort of feel a bit that because they're actually playing with a week gap between some games, which is no bad thing. Living week to week is part of this, and it is about gaps. It's about creating gaps to the teams behind us, and maybe bridging a gap to the teams ahead of us. But the only way you do that is by living week to week and winning those games, and it's a good weekend.
Yeah, I was a bit surprised that there was a sort of mood of negativity about the manner of this victory in the immediate aftermath phase. I thought we've been a bit entitled here for a team that's lost a zillion games in the I don't know how many in the last number of games. I mean, we said we were doing, was it an overview show you and I did? When was it? 2 weeks ago, must have been. And we looked at the run of games, and we looked at Wolves and Leeds looking like nice home fixtures, Fulham maybe not the worst away, but we stood ahead of that potential run for Liverpool are the bulwarks of Brighton at home, no easy feat, Spurs away. It's never easy to go against a sort of traditional Big Six team away from whatever form they're in. So we looked at those two fixtures with cheese. I mean, I said to you, I think we all said we really need to win those, but we also said, can see this Liverpool team not winning either. Right, well, we've gone and got 6 points. There's absolutely no bad way to get those 6 points. I'm looking at this bodywork. I mean, there is a bad way to hear about what happens afterwards, that you're losing good players left, right and centre. I know we're going to come on to talk about that Isak thing. It is hard to separate them out. I mean, I will say the other side of this, in a way, I don't think 24 hours after winning at Tottenham, I've ever felt so low in my Liverpool supporting life as I actually did as the news was filtering through about Isak. You started beginning to take it all on board and you go, Jesus Christ, Salah's still away and there's a cloud over him. Other players are injured. The squad just looks so thin, and you go, it's good that we're building this mini head of steam. What's it, 4 wins out of 6 unbeaten. It's really, really good in ordinary circumstances. 2 winnable games ahead. But then you go, what really does the season hold down the line for us? If you'd said to me coming into the Tottenham game, win that, are you still giving up on the league title? Are you going to say we're having I'm definitely not giving up on the league title. Don't care what Arsenal do this weekend. If we win, we move there. We move into the extended phase of more winnable games. We can arrive in theory at the Arsenal fixture with something to show and something to achieve. And now, I don't know, I'm being too pessimistic in surveying the wider picture. I just think we're living on our nerves in terms of injuries. I felt it for a while, but when you see it begin to manifest itself with the loss of Isak, and it's not just like for 2 or 3 weeks, it looks like it probably is the best part of the rest of the season. And you go that question mark over Salah, Gakpo's still not back yet, not that people particularly wanted him to play at the moment. And I mean, never mind that department. I'm fretting about the midfield and going, well, we're now playing 4 midfielders week in, week out. We haven't got any others.
5?
Yeah, 5, including Wirtz. We haven't got any others. I mean, who's coming off for the midfielders? You know, Trey Naoni came on the weekend, and we had no midfield injuries, and yet we still had to bring in Trey Naoni to try and close things out in midfield. So I feel personally, I don't feel other fans, Liverpool fans, are in a strange place whereby a lot of reasons to be cheerful. 4 wins out of 6 is real progress, despite the last 10 minutes, the eye test of that. But what the immediate future holds, I don't know. And I know we're going to come on to talk about January transfer markets, but boy do we need to.
We will come on to that, but I want to do the game a bit first. Rob, you were there. Till 2-0, it's a controlled professional performance. I'm fine with Liverpool embracing the first half away from home being a whole load of nothing. I don't like it when they do it at home. I've still got that Sunderland game in my mind's eye. But going away from home and having a load of nothing for 45 minutes, that being a bit of your game plan, absolutely fine. 0-0 at half-time, and any away game is a perfectly reasonable place to be. And then what happens is the lad gets himself sent off because Tottenham has completely lost the run of themselves all the way through the match. I actually don't think they've had enough criticism from the broader sort of mainstream media about the fact that they were determined to show that they were aggressive all the way through the match. Well, it's resulted in Liverpool players being injured. But that said, one of the things it results in them then going down to 9 men. But in that first half period, going down to 10. And if you offer as any away game where at half time it'll be 0-0, but the opposition are down to 10 men, we'll all be delighted with that.
Yeah, you feel like you're half a goal up if you've got 10 v 11 going into the second half. But I did feel the sterile sort of opening phase. I was with you. Does he go on about 30-31? Something like that. That first opening half an hour sterile, I thought this is fine. If we get to half time 0-0, that's how you win. You win hard away games. You win them with the only goal of the game on 60 and maybe a late clinch. So that's how you do this. Take all the heat. No mountains to climb coming into the second half. But everything changes when that sending off happens. And I felt we were wasteful for the remaining 15 plus 3 or 4 there. I think every minute counts when you're 11 versus 10. You need to play like it's the last, not wildly, but you need to play like
especially when they've just had the man sent off.
Yeah,
they haven't had time to adjust.
Yeah,
exactly. I personally, and then I do think the manager does the right thing at half time, whether Bradley comes off because he's injured or not, but he definitely puts another forward on. I think the opposite, somebody goes off against you straight away. You shouldn't be in a where it's a relatively evenly matched sides. You should be making an attacking substitution. Often I like to see it in a wide area. You've got to stretch the play. Mm-hmm. That's one thing 10 men find it very difficult to cope with. Is making the pitch bigger, and we seem to make the pitch sort of narrower. Wow, not narrower, but we didn't seem to do anything about the fact that they were down to 10. So I don't think we had a great last 10 minutes. Although, did that Florian Wirtz semi-chance happen in the last 10 minutes? That was the only high spot really in an attacking sense of that half. So yeah, I would have taken 0-0 at half time coming into the game with a view to winning it. But I do think after the sending off, the urgency comes a bit too late for me, although we do correct it.
I think that's a fair criticism, Pete. The one thing I would say is that, Liverpool are still in the moment where they're trying to sort of manage themselves and still manage the resources. I think we can point out here, it isn't like he's looking at the bench with 6 attacking options on and going, oh my God, which of these riches should I use? Move into the second half there, I think the professionalism stays from Liverpool, but also I think an awareness, and it's nice that we're on the other end of this. These will give you one. You just hang on in there, these will give you something.
Yeah, I agree. I think I agree with Rob in the sense that when you're away from home against a good side that they get a man sent off, you do feel like it's a bit of half a goal, don't you? But I was actually a little bit disappointed because I thought we were going to win anyway. I was that confident. I didn't think Tottenham were that good. I thought we were very professional. I think we gave one chance away where they had that free header, which I'm still a little bit aghast by who was responsible for that. It was between Gravenberch and Van Dijk, I think. They should have done better, but other than that, Liverpool, I don't know if unexpected points is a thing, but it seems like we're approaching games like, well, we're going to get 3 points here and that'll do, and it seems like every game at the moment is we're just going to give nothing away and we're going to build our way into it and the quality will pay off, and I think that's what happened in the second half. That little bit of a pirouette from Wirtz in the first half where he had that shot, personally I still think he should have done a little bit better, but in the second half, that little bit of quality then from Wirtz puts Isak through, doesn't it? And the goal's the goal, which is what we signed him for. And then not long afterwards, Ekitike finishes it off, and it was a phenomenal leap, wasn't it? I was worried about Ekitike a little bit because he was getting bullied from the Tottenham centre-halves, and it was nice to see that he gave him one back right there in a decisive moment. So I thought Liverpool were professional all the way through. Until the moment.
Until it goes 2-0. So I want to let's stay before the 2-0 bit, John, and then we can get stuck into them a bit, really. But it seemed like to me just genuinely seemed like Tottenham had lost the run of themselves. I don't know what they're doing with their own half time because they don't come out with a clear plan as to how they're going to frustrate or annoy Liverpool all the way through the second half, and then from there, I was just sort of thinking something's on its way. You hadn't even got to the point of feeling a little bit desperate with it, and after it goes 1. Other than seeing Isak come off and the concern that sort of elicits, you were thinking this will go to. It was nice to have that confidence in them. In all seriousness, I had that confidence in them that they were going to be all right.
Yeah, I did as well, and I agree with Rob. I don't think we adapted that well to when they went down to 10 in the first half, but the second half, helped by the attacking sub, but I just think it was a little bit of a change of impetus as well. We started to pull them about, and the goal doesn't come out of nowhere. You're not surprised when Isak scores it, and then you're not then surprised when we make it too as well. And so I think they manage and play that part of the game relatively well. And listen, if you've got really good forwards on the pitch, I think you've always got a chance in any game, really. And this is why I think he's chose to make games a little bit tighter and chose to make games, go against probably his ideals of what he'd like to see certainly from a Liverpool team, but probably from any team. And just think, well, if we don't give a lot away, then if we've got these players on the pitch. I mean, that for the glorious 10 minutes, we had Wirtz and Ekitike, didn't we? And you could see what he could potentially look like, albeit playing against a team who've got 10 men and, weren't playing particularly well. I agree with Pete. I thought they were poor with 11, to be honest with you, in terms of the passing.
They're a mess, aren't they, really?
Yeah, they kept passing it out, like more than any team should, I think, and not even really trying to, force anything, or they weren't sort of ambitious passes. They were just sort of normal passes. They got some good players out at the moment, but join the club, and so I think they don't sort of look great, and they try to, I think, kick the way out of it, and that really works. It normally ends up backfiring. Obviously, it's been tough for us as well because we've now got injuries. But for them, I think you just end up looking a bit stupid, really. And I agree with you. I don't think they have had enough criticism. But we're here to talk about Liverpool, and I thought for that period with those, with the three of them on the pitch, it's maybe even the first time we've seen it. I can't think of many others when we've had sort of those three going, and it was nice to see. And the goal's great. The first one, it's a great finish. I love that it's Wirtz who plays the ball, and you're like, this is how they must have imagined it. When they were putting this team together, this is what they were thinking of, and there wasn't loads of space, but he finds it great, and then so that's the injury. I've talked before about how low you feel. You feel bad for him, but also you've had a glimpse into almost kind of what could have been with the two of them linking up. It's no coincidence to me that Wirtz, he hasn't had enough goals and assists this season, but that comes on with his movement, then suddenly, this is fine, I can do this all day, little pass, and it's not an easy pass, really, the one he makes, because he's not, it's so easy, we see that overhit all the time, it's so easy to overhit it, and he goes through to the keeper, and you go, and you give him a little clap anyway, whereas, but it's perfectly timed, and obviously the finish, he makes it look easy, but it's not, especially when, I think he must be aware in the side of his vision that he's about to get clattered, and so it was a real kind of here's what could have been. But the fact that they react to that really positively and go and make it 2 anyway, even though they've just witnessed what's a pretty bad injury for the teammates is worthy of credit as well. We've talked plenty this season about how they deal with setbacks and how they deal with certain situations, and we'll go on to be a bit critical about how they manage this game out. But I think they deserve credit for that, really, because they could have easily have gone into themselves a little bit after that bad injury, but they didn't. They went and made it 2 anyway.
Sorry, just on the injury, can I just, without going into the Isak side of it, there are many technical reasons, but what Van der Ven does is reckless in the extreme there and dangerous. You may not connect with studs, but it's like that scissor connection that I was saying before the show that Pickford gets on Van Dijk when he does his ACL. He's coming at such speed across him, and if you do it with that intent and he doesn't get anything on the ball's well away.
Yeah.
So it's a really, really reckless challenge there. It's certainly the thing that deserved the red card more than anything else I saw on the pitch that day.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think it's anywhere else on the pitch. It's a red card, isn't it? They're going back and they're reviewing it and thinking what was the thinking behind it, because, like you said, the ball was well gone. He was a million miles away from the ball. So then, what is his intention? And to me, it's just reckless. And it is a funny old rule, isn't it? Because
what is the specific rule? The double? Is it like
It's
double?
not a rule.
It's not a rule.
if you score it, you don't get it.
Yeah, it's not a rule. It's just the way it's always been.
To me, it doesn't even feel like it's scored. It's just get a shot away. If you get a shot away and someone clatters you, everyone afterwards says, "Well, he's got a shot away." Well, no.
Red didn't score.
I think if they
get punched in the face. It's not a red. You just bagged.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, exactly that. But I also, you hear the commentary all the time, don't you? If the player is on the right hand side of the box, for example, and he hasn't got control of the ball's about to go out, and he gets clattered, he still doesn't get a pen normally. Like the Kanate one was a bit contentious for that reason as well, because normally if you've not got control of it, you still don't get the penalty. But I just don't get into it. Like you just said about getting punched in the face, a foul's a foul, isn't it?
Yeah, and also a reckless challenge is a reckless challenge. It's different again. And
It's the sort of challenge that definitely needs dealing with by the game. That's the whole purpose of red cards, really, is to prevent violent conduct as much as anything. That is vital.
And serious injuries.
To protect the players. The point of this is to protect the players, or it's what it should be. All right, we'll go on and talk about the 2-0 before we get into some individual performances and then into the injury issues and some transfer bits. Post 2-0, I think there's a little bit where I've got some sympathy, and I've watched it back. I was quite cross as it was happening before my very eyes. In that, I just couldn't quite understand why they didn't want to go and get a grip of it. I think they get a little bit rope-a-doped. I think Tottenham are that bad until effectively 8. I think Liverpool don't do enough for me at 2-0. I think they should be trying to make it 3 because it really would have put it to bed.
Yeah.
But Liverpool are trying to manage a situation, and Liverpool are where they are at the minute. So let's have a bit of respect for that and at least allow that. When I watched it back, what's really interesting is how dead the game is from 2-0 until about 78. It begins to come to life a little bit before Richarlison comes on. But for 14, 15 minutes, Tottenham are dreadful.
Yeah.
And I think that this is the bit where I've got a little bit more so than Newcastle. When it happens against Newcastle, all game, Newcastle play quite well until Gordon gets sent off, for instance, and they're front foot and they're trying to make it happen. And then even in the little bits just after half time, there's still a bit of something from Newcastle, and then they get a goal, and then all hell breaks loose. This genuinely for 10 minutes, Tottenham offer nothing. They don't have a shot themselves. They don't look interested in getting into Liverpool's final third. So I think there is a little bit of a thing, Rob, where Liverpool are just a little bit rope-a-doped, where they think this game is finished because Tottenham's entire demeanour is that it's finished. But that said, they've got to be able to do things like make basic passes when they're playing against 10 and then 9 men. And it is frustrating to watch.
Yeah, I think that there's a definite psychological issue with this Liverpool team with a 2-0 scoreline. Jurgen Klopp famously said that 2-0 is the most dangerous scoreline you can have. And if ever that maxim has been proven, it's this Liverpool team time and time again this season. And I would say, I slightly disagree with Newcastle. I thought at the point they get their first goal back, they're not in the game at that point. So they really are out of when we're 2-0. I don't think a ball.
But they hadn't had 15 minutes of being absolutely nowhere in the same way.
But the control is there. I would say the same was true at Leeds. Probably Bournemouth first day of the season until they get that sudden breakaway. I mean, we're on the attack. We've taken 2-0 leads. How many times this season have we taken 2-0 leads and not, well, and even if we haven't totally surrendered, we've come close to surrendering them. But in every single case, it's not as though after we take the ball back to the centre spot for 2-0 that the opposition go, right, sleeves rolled up, now you're going to see the real us. It's been games which have been, as you've described the Tottenham, very sterile affairs. Normally what has happened in Northern, we saw this with Tottenham, there's little warning shots. You go, oh, hang on a second. They are beginning to wake up and think, what's the harm in having a go? And that's the point where I think Liverpool aren't switching on. They're not switching on and going, come on, let's reassert ourselves now. We've been strolling for a bit. Maybe, I mean, I haven't looked at them all forensically and go, what substitutes does the manager do? I don't know. If I'm going to dig somebody out, maybe I'm going to dig Arna out here. Whether that's fair or not, I'm not sure. But there definitely was a factor, which seems bizarre to say it on Saturday, was fatigue. Now, we're the team who've got 11 players versus their 9 and 10 running around, but we looked the more fatigued in the final phases of the game. Szoboszlai back from an injury, looked like he could have been done with being hooked. Was he hooked? I don't know. No. Curtis, you know, he's not used to actually playing week in, week out. And McAllister's had his fitness injuries for a while. So I don't think we looked a very fit team in the final phase. And Hugo Ekitike is another one who has not really completed many 90s, if any, this season. So across the board, we looked at a tired team. And I wonder if that's been a bit of a factor all season long. Now I'm thinking.
Yeah. I mean, you didn't mention Florian Wirtz there. He gets cramp.
Well, there you go. Yeah, sorry, another one.
So he's another one.
Team of non-90-minute players.
Yeah, which is obviously a bit of a problem for the manager. I don't think we've looked particularly fit all season. I don't know what it is, whether it's the makeup of the squad. You know, maybe they've changed the schedule around a little bit. I don't know, but
I mean, pre-season was very interrupted.
Yeah, of course, but they don't look particularly fit to me at all, and I think that's part of what's causing problems later in games. I mean, it's obviously you're more likely to do things like misplace a pass if your legs are tired and you're heavy and stuff like that. But I think they should have dealt with it better, and it was frustrating to watch because you think, well, they've only got 9 by this point, and surely there's a spare man. It feels like, sometimes 11v10 doesn't really look like it, and you can obviously run more and things like that. But 11v9, you're thinking surely there's a spare man somewhere, and you should be able to just pass it around like rondos, like the warm up drills that they do, and lads are in the middle chasing about, looking foolish. Like that's what that should have looked like really, and instead we kept getting ourselves into a load of trouble. Where I've got sympathy with the manager is that when you get injuries, your team can start looking a bit sort of thrown together. Really, he's just putting lads on. I thought Frimpong did well. When he come on, he obviously creates the second goal, but that wasn't a planned sub, and so he's took his right back off because his right back injured. He's moved some stuff around there. Yeah,
Trey comes on. Is it his Premier League debut? Someone said. Is that
I'm not sure, but your plan, if you're trying to see your team out, is to never put a kid on, especially a kid who's barely featured all season. You're not going to get he's not going to come down and calm it down, right? Listen, lads, everyone.
It's like I'm playing for Liverpool.
This is fucking great. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So there was a little bit of that from him, and I don't think he was great when he come on. I think he loses straight away, but I'm not going to criticise him because he's a young lad who's barely featured this season. So, but that's not the plan, and so but he's looking round, and there's probably 4 or 5 others who he would have liked to have took off. But why are we in that situation? I don't know, but I think it's part of the reason it's contributing to us not looking strong in the latter part of games.
As John says, the thing that they just need to do is just find a way to pass the ball. Sean Rodgers has tweeted some statistics out that Liverpool approaching 300 passes completed or attempted at least from 45 minutes to 75 minutes, and knocking around 60, 70 from 75 to what is 100 minutes, by the way. I think this is the other thing that's slightly catching them out, is that they keep having to deal with great big chunks of injury time. 80 minutes is not 10 to go. 80 minutes is 20 to go. You don't feel secure at 70, Pete. In any game, you don't feel secure at 70, and Liverpool keep getting into these games where there's 8, 9, 10 minutes added.
No, absolutely. I think the lack of composure, isn't it? You need that someone to get on the ball. Someone like Curtis Jones, but now he's starting, so you'd bring Curtis Jones on, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
To get on the ball and just make sure they keep hold of it, and especially against 9 men, like John just said, you think you'd find the extra man. So obviously it's pressure. It's where we are at the moment, but I think, but at the same time, you can look at it the other way and think, well, we are now 6 games unbeaten. Is it where we are, or is it just a bit of a pattern of play because we keep going 2-0 up, I think, in the last 3 games, around about the same period of time? Is it now a management instruction where we feel like we're safe? Maybe we're not going for that 3rd goal. Maybe we're stepping back a little bit because it's Leeds away, it's Brighton at home. Brighton come on to us. I know they don't score. Spurs, it's down to 10 men. It's so comfortable. Even if you think about early in the season,
if it goes 3, Pete, it's finished. If you know what I mean.
If it goes 3.
In fact, if it goes 3, it might go 5 because of Tottenham's discipline issues.
Exactly that. And I won't get into the whole Mohamed Salah debate whether he should have come off on the pitch against Leeds away. But if you go and get that 3rd goal when they were absolutely doing nothing, it kills the game. And that's why I'm suggesting, is it a management instruction? Just keep it where we are, because at the moment we're starting the game not to concede. And then we're looking for a bit of quality in the middle part of the game, and towards the end of the game, it's like, we'll see it out. Well, we're not really seeing it out very well, so that can't continue. It might not be. It might literally just be a big coincidence that all this has happened, and we'll see as the season goes on. But
I think there's a factor in not getting these 3rd goals is that we haven't had great pace options on the counter-attack consistently enough. An old Liverpool team, Pete Klopp, where you've got Firmino, Mane and Salah, you know that the opposition can come onto you. They lose the ball once and we're away and through them. I mean, fully fit Isak and Ekitike, yes, you have got those options. But this season we've had players who aren't rapid on the counter, like this version of Mo Salah, like this version of Gakpo, or Florian Wirtz. We haven't had quite that. We haven't had 2 paces
exactly
at any one time.
It stretches the play, doesn't it? And it keeps that threat on the pitch. You're inviting them to come up the pitch then and get a bit of a stranglehold against you. But that goes down to the recruitment, doesn't it? Because in the summer, you start with Cody Gakpo.
Luis Diaz is a key factor.
Yeah, Diaz leaving the club and not replacing him with Gakpo. Whether you're for him or against him, he's not that style of footballer. And Mohamed Salah's definitely not in his current age in the way he plays football.
I think there's no perfect way to handle a 2-0. There's no blueprint. Like, if you go 2-0, this is what you want to do.
There is, John, you score the 3rd.
Well, if you push it for...
No,
but it's true. But if you push it for... I get you, but if you push it for the 3rd and you throw them forward, then you get done on the counter, everyone's like, what the fuck are you doing? You're 2-0 up. Why are you taking risks? Why are you doing this? And so what we're talking about really is sitting back a little bit and hitting teams on the counter, but that involves the first bit, which is sitting back, and then you get criticised for that. So you don't want to be going sort of too gung-ho. Well, you can if you want. I think my point I'm trying to make is, whatever you do, just be good at it. And so don't necessarily, there's there's not the perfect way. You can be the team who right, with 2 down, especially down 10 pen, we're going to make it free. We're going to pin it back. We're going to make this horrible. We're going to, you can be that team if you want to be, or you can be the sit back and counter team. But like you've just said, Rob, have they got the team for that? Or you can be the team who just passes it around and everyone goes, absolutely nothing happened. We got to 2-0 and nothing happened, and we all just got to sit around asking our mates what they're doing for Christmas. You can be that, but you've got to be good at it. And at the moment, I don't feel like we're good at any of those options, really, which is why we're getting involved in these classics that are 100 minutes long.
That need to stop. I think there's a little thing in what Rob said there, though, John, before, where there's, in a couple of these, there's just been a little warning shot just before, and maybe, just maybe, that's time for whatever it is that if you are doing the sit back and looking to hit thing, maybe that's time for, no, now we are just going to take control of the football. We're going to try and do it. We're going to try and do it in your half. We're going to try and do it that way around. That might be my one thing that I would suggest. If you feel as though you are suddenly vulnerable, if you're saying there's 3 options, stop doing one of the options and pick another option and go that way. But it's easy. It's so easy to say. You're not in a football match. You're not away from home. You're not dealing with Tottenham being mad. It's easy for me to say that Saturday.
I think it's maybe a little bit of lack of leaders on the pitch as well, and this is to dig out Virgil van Dijk. I think he just needs more. Like we were talking before about subs you'd love to have. I think you'd love James Milner. So that's what you're going to do. Forget this, attacking players throwing these, he'd throw an attacking player on if he needed, but also how many times did he go, James, just go on and sort this? Well, yeah, and that was in a team that had Jordan Henderson, that a team that obviously had Virgil, that had all these other ones, yeah. But he sent Milner on and throw him on. He famously didn't start Milner in the Champions League final against Madrid because he wanted him at the end, and he's like, well, I'm not going to get 90 or 100 minutes. I'd rather have you the last 20. And so we haven't got that guy at the moment as well, and he's the guy who goes, listen, we're going to do this and we're all going to commit to it, or you've had a warning there. That's just happened. That does not happen again. And so who's that fella? Forget the guy who's going to burn them on the counter and stuff like that. Like they're almost easier to find, really. Who's the guy who's coming on and just calming everyone down? It's not fucking training only, is it? With the best will in the world. Like, so who's that? All
right, let's do some individual performances. I haven't pulled them apart there. Rob, I'm loving watching Florian Wirtz.
Yeah.
It's all a bit simple in a way, I'm just loving watching his balance, watching his ability to bring people into play. I thought it was no surprise, whilst Kerkez doesn't do much with it. Kerkez is more involved around the byline, coming in and out. I thought that Jones and Wirtz linked up brilliantly all the way through the game. I'm just really enjoying watching him at the minute, and you can genuinely see what Liverpool have committed to and why.
Yeah, we've watched some really good players in the last 10 years. But his ability in tight spaces is the thing that reminds me most of is actually watching the peak Guardiola teams of Barcelona, where they just, they didn't have to use the width of the pitch; they could play through you. You're always looking to find Messi. I'm not saying Wirtz is Messi, but Messi did. You don't need to find space; just find me, and I'll ping it off. I think around him, his perceived improvement has coincided with people like Curtis Jones coming into the team, because he's a sort of player who also quite enjoys playing in tight spaces and trusting himself to take the ball quickly and distribute it quickly. I think his teammates are getting nearer and nearer being up to speed with what he's trying to do. 2 forwards were getting nearer and nearer to being up to speed to what he was trying to do, and we've lost one of them, which is a terrible shame. Now, I'm loving Florian Wirtz. I want to see us getting him into positions where he's just got one man to beat and he can drop his shoulder, dribble and get some shots away, because we still haven't seen the fact that boy can finish, and we've all seen his YouTubes, a real range of finishes here. We've seen a few sort of like under-hit shots like the one we saw in the first half. We've not seen Florian Wirtz properly get half a second to look up and bang one into the top corner.
Why do you think that is?
Sorry?
Why?
I think
when I watch him shoot, I can't believe how many goals he scored in Germany.
Well, this analogy won't quite go away. But, when we signed Peter Beardsley in '87, along with Barnes and others at that time, Beardsley was the biggest of the signings monetarily, and he had a very sort of mediocre, slow start. But he'd come to us with a reputation from Newcastle of having banged goals in.
Yeah.
And in the clips, you'd see him beating men and banging goals. He goes, I don't think I've seen. Is he a footballer who can even put his foot through a ball?
Yeah,
do you know what I mean?
That's what Wirtz looks like.
If you'd never seen Wirtz stuff, you go, he can't really put his foot through a ball.
Because you can see, because he got he was famous, he'd get 15 goals, 20 assists. And when I'm watching him, I can believe the 20 assists, even though he hasn't got many.
But the goals.
But the 15 goals, I'm like, wow.
But look,
he can't kick it right.
But most of them are.
Exactly
what Beardsley was like, until it wasn't. Oh, that's what he can do. And then it came, and I'm not saying definitely it's going to follow that model, but there's a reasonable chance because that talent's not going to have gone away.
He's playing deeper though, isn't he?
Well, I was going to come on to that. See, certainly the first half of the time we've used him, we were playing him sort of as a midfielder, not as one of the front three. So we've just not got him close enough to my mind. Xabi Alonso, more often than not, he played him nominally off the left, didn't he? But I think the team was very geared to it arriving at his feet. A bit like the way we've used Mohamed Salah at his best. And either Salah would pop it in beautifully for a perfect finish, easy finish for somebody else, or score himself. And I think they were using Wirtz like that. We've not really used Wirtz like that. Maybe it's because we've had Mohamed Salah. Yeah. So be interesting to see how we adapt now with less and less options. Because tell you what, if we ever doubted Florian Wirtz was a front three player prior to now, he's a front three player because we ain't got any others. We now need to turn to Florian Wirtz and say, those goals you can score, we now need to see them, and we're going to work out how you're going to score them. That has to happen now, I believe, with Isak being out for so long. There, I've said it.
I totally agree. I think you've got to build the team around him. I think he's the opposite of a footballer who is like a highlights reel, although you can probably make your own highlights reel with Florian Wirtz as well. I think what he does on the football pitch is so underrated and so subtle, and I think when you sign a player for £100 million plus, everyone's expecting fireworks, and because you haven't got that in the moment, you forget what you're watching, on the football pitch. So over the last few years, you've had industrial midfielders. He's a proper footballer. He's a proper midfielder, and I think that's why it's night and day his performances, and there's no coincidence that, like Neil said before, it's coincided with Curtis Jones coming to the team because you've got footballers around them then interchanging with the passes. I think there was a pass network that you said yesterday that it was one of the biggest
17 passes second half from Jones to Wirtz, passes to him 17 times, gets him on at 70, which if you're Tottenham, by the way, what don't you want to have happen second half? Florian Wirtz gets the ball. Curtis Jones alone got it to him 17 times.
Absolutely, and all that talk early in the season that these footballers are not playing well together because they're all new. We're starting to see partnerships on the football pitch now, aren't we? And you've got to keep them together. I thought the only noticeable thing, which I'm going to go against what I said earlier on about is being at the end and lacking composure. I think in the game though, because I think we'll talk about Virgil van Dijk in a moment. He looked bigger to me when I was watching the other day. I don't know. Sorry, Virgil van Dijk. I don't know if it was because he had 3 pints of Guinness at the time, but he did. But I was looking at the whole Liverpool side, and he looked confident. They look like they know the good footballers. This isn't 5-6 games ago when we were playing Sunderland at home. This is they are grown with the confidence, and that's why the points are so important. So I just think that's where the captain's coming out, and I think when you were talking about a title race before, Rob, I still think somewhere in that dressing room they're still talking themselves and reminding each other that they are quality footballers. That's what I was seeing on Saturday.
Let's do Jones before we get into Van Dijk. John, I think 75 minutes there, I thought Curtis was excellent. I think he does tire. I think you get to see him tire. It's worth saying, he's been often a substitute. He's been often a player who comes in for spells. He did have a week leading up to it, but I think he just covers a hell of a lot of ground. Part of why he is excellent is he's constantly supporting everyone on the pitch. He does not stop moving for those first 75 minutes, and I think that's part of what led to him sort of deteriorating a little bit for that last 20.
Yeah, I thought the manager was interested on him in the build-up. Curtis has done quite a bit of media at the moment, and and he was asked about him, and he says, he's played 3 good games in a row, but he needs to do more than that. And I thought that was fair. I thought, he's comparing him to the other midfielders who he's been picking more, and you think of McAllister at the end of last season, he probably put 8, 9, 10 great games, together. Szoboszlai's been brilliant all season. Gravenberch, he's been a little bit hot and cold, but if you think about to the start of last season, where he's getting man of the match every week, it's a bit of a joke, isn't it? Like by the end, they're looking for someone else to give it to, like the best kid in the school team. So these are lads who he's competing with, and the manager was making the point subtly who've done this for 8, 9, 10 games. So and Curtis done 3. Well done, been great. But I thought that was as someone who's a big Curtis Jones fan, I thought that's fair enough. That's the manager's basically saying I'm still not quite sure what version of him I'm going to get when he's on the pitch. His level is very high, and his potential performances and his bench team performances have been great, but he's not got that consistent excellence that maybe I want from my midfielders. I thought we saw the bit of the good and the bad within this game. we're playing a little bit more of a diamond at the moment, and some people who don't like the diamond say the midfielders have to cover a lot of ground, and we saw that in a couple of games. They put the running stats up for our midfield, and the covering a lot. He covers a lot, so he's maybe understandably going to tire towards the game, but he's just got to be better than he is at the end. I think he'll be looking at it. There's one good chance they have where he just passes to them, and it's not a hard pass. It's almost like a free ball that he sort of hits him, and you're like, oh lad, come on. And at the end of the game, when we just need to keep the ball, and he's the best at keeping the ball, he's the best in the league. You see all the stats, he's the best at that. He's just got to find something, or he just needs to, dig in and find a level there that's what the very best midfielders do, and he wants to be the very best. He's talking about, looking at Stevie. Stevie would have found a way to influence that game in the last sort of 10 minutes, whatever that is. And I think for Curtis, that's the next level for him. So I'm not digging him out. I love him, and I'm really pleased to see him getting a run in the team. And I agree with Pete that I think he's really sort of helping Wirtz. But if he's looking at that, I would imagine he's looking at the last 10 rather than the 75, where I think he is really good, because when we really needed him to be the Curtis Jones, you can't get the ball off, he was found a little bit wanting, which was frustrating.
Captain and goalkeeper, Rob, in that last 20-25 minutes, the very thing that John describes there, in terms of finding something, in terms of going that little bit extra, I think the two of them do it. I think the goalkeeper just gave you a real sense of assurance in that way that only he can.
It's amazing, isn't it?
It's astonishing. It's like a huge psychological thing that he just manages to do. And I thought that Van Dijk was tremendous. I just thought there was no battle he didn't want to fight. I thought, insofar as he can be everywhere, I often don't like it when he's everywhere, but in this instance, the way in which he was going about his business, I thought the two of them just got that team home. They're 3 points. The 3 points belongs to those two.
Yeah, we did get sucked too deep in that final phase, and I suppose that's a combination of factors, but we were where we were, and I agree, but Van Dijk was imperious then. We always use that word around him. I think he's been harshly treated at times this season. I think he's had a really, really good campaign with a few blippy games in between, but more often than not, one of the sort of things that's enabled his renaissance, I think, has been the factor that Arne Slot identified from the get-go, which is teams are going longer against us. It suits a Virgil van Dijk. I'm losing counting games of how often he's heading big headers away, not easy things to win. So he was very important. The keeper was outstanding. I've lamented in recent weeks that, in fact, that he hasn't come for stuff when we've had faced set pieces against Leeds. I need to see it a few more times. My instinct at the time was maybe you could have come for that, but he definitely comes for one quite late on, goes over the top of people. I mean, I grew up watching Bruce Grobbelaar. He came for everything, and I like a keeper. He's got 2 feet more on him than the tallest centre halves in the league with being able to use his hand. He's got to come for something.
Do you think anything to do with fitness? This might be because he's come back.
Yeah, I do think that.
So
yeah, because I think Alison's been coming for a little bit less since he's been back. Like he's not taking goal kicks, but he did come for a big one.
Yeah.
And obviously he does that very late chance when the ball comes across from their left-hand side and he flies across his 6-yard box to parry it away, and you think that's a top save. I mean, you rarely see a keeper pull that off properly without exposing himself totally.
He's just unbelievable, isn't he? I can't help but watch him now because I know that he's going to go into his last year of his contract next year, and I just think, oh God, like I'm just trying to enjoy him while he's here.
Year option, haven't we?
Yeah, well, indeed, better exercise it because he does pick up injuries over the last couple of seasons. That's why you've got to have a good deputy, which we have done. But he's not a normal goalkeeper, is he? It's as simple as that. He makes the very difficult look very easy, and he makes what a goalkeeper should make you feel like, and that's safe, isn't it? And when he's in goal, I always feel safe. And
match-winning parry, that late thing, isn't it? It's as good as a goal, I think.
It's sort of like he just takes the sting out of their momentum as well, because when a goalkeeper's that good, you have to do something special to beat them, don't you? And to me, Tottenham weren't the most confident side anyway, and they don't score a lot of goals. So when you see an Alisson Becker in goal, it's not helpful. And when he's performing like he is, it makes it even worse.
Two of them get Liverpool over the line, though. The combination of Virgil and Alisson is what ensures that the game is won. And this is where I think any criticism of Virgil's leadership, I think, is really harsh, because, like, what more do you want him to do? Like, if the others can't be inspired by what he's doing and pull around him, then, you know, if he's too busy shouting at everyone, he's not winning every header. He's playing like two men
Yep.
at the end there. Do you know what I mean? And then you say, you know, I he needs to sort all the rest of them out as well. Like, you know, they've got to take the lead from Virgil.
You can't go and play centre mid.
Yes.
That's like that was my thing when people say that. Like I was like I couldn't believe some of them. That was I was maddest with the post match. What more do you want him to do?
Yeah.
You can't go and play centre mid. You can't start leading counter attacks.
Yeah.
To be fair, he did a few times.
Yeah, when he did it the last one, and like your manager's sort of laughing at him, but it's so good. And then you've got the keeper who he is just it's assurance, isn't it? That's what you feel from him. When he's in that kind of level. I always go back to the Champions League final against Tottenham again, where last 5 minutes they have a bit of a go, and he's just like, don't worry. No one's fucking scoring past me. Like, don't worry about it. And he's like, when you got someone who gives that air about them, like Pete says, it's really special, and we're really lucky to have him.
All right. Lastly, Ekitike, Rob. It's a really good goal. I think he is again just present in the match. That's the thing I most enjoy about him this season. I think even when he's not in the action, you feel like he's in the action. You know, I think he must be difficult to defend against. This is my overriding thing. I like centre forwards where you feel like the opposition afterwards are thinking, Christ, I'm glad we don't have to play him for another 19 games. I'm glad that one's out the way. And at the minute, to me, that's the footballer he is.
Yeah, and I don't think we're seeing anything like the footballer I hope he can become. I just think we're seeing snatches of the footballer that he is, but he's doing. So we're watching a work in progress that's scoring a lot of goals, quite frankly. I'm still waiting to see much more of him, you know, opening his legs, cutting loose, rinsing people down the outside sometimes. I want to see him score that goal he scored against Tottenham in the Europa last season, because you can see how that can happen, actually. But he's alive. He's alive to the goal. I was reflecting sort of after the game, thinking about his 5 goals in 3 games, I think it is. Yeah. How in the summer there was a lot of chat when we were analysing and over-analysing. There was a lot of chat about how he underperforms his XG that he had done in Germany last year. I thought, I've seen no evidence. I don't want to jinx it, but I've seen no evidence whatsoever of that boy. So I don't know. He has to be overperforming his XG.
In the league, he is, but not by much, and he's underperforming it in Europe.
In Europe?
Yeah.
Well, XG needs to have a long, hard look at itself, as far as I can, because I'm not seeing. Well, no. Actually,
it's fine.
To be fair,
he's doing a little bit better than par.
To be fair, there's been a few, and it was earlier in the season where a ball would come across the box, and you go, "Oh my God, he's just skied that over the box."
Well, for me, it's not about that. It's about the fact that he's in the positions and he's creating the positions. That's what I'm excited about, Rob.
Yes, but I suppose what I'm getting at, when people were talking about it underperforming XG, there was a sense of, we're not getting another Darwin. Are we someone who absolutely collapses in face of looking at a goalkeeper's eyes? To me, he's a nice cold killer. He's a proper striker. Darwin was something, for better or for worse, a one-off. With Ekitike is a nice cold killer of a striker, and I don't think we're touching the sides of what we've seen of him yet. I want to see more examples of us getting him on the ball using his pace. I want to see him more license. So I quite like the idea of him in a front. Prefer him in a 2 rather than being a centre forward in a 3, because I think in a 2 you give him more license to pull into wide positions, into the channel, to get in behind people, to put things across the 6-yard box, as well as to cut inside himself and hopefully do I think he's got a Morgan Rogers goal in him. And I want to see one of them quite soon.
I agree. I've been really disappointed with him, like Rob. He's got so much more. I'm only joking.
No.
I think Liverpool look more like Liverpool when he plays. I think he's fantastic. I think the energy that he brings to that front line is something that we need, and he's the only one who's really doing it right now. And he looks exceptional. I'm looking at him, and this is the biggest compliment I can give him, is that you still expect more. I can see over the next few months.
That's what I mean.
We're just going to see so much more from him. Everything that happens, and when he scores goals, or when it's a little bit of a skill, or is interlink play, it's all by design. So when you watch previous strikers over the years and he done something good, you didn't really know how they were going to replicate that. That's the opposite of Ekitike. You're just waiting for more, and he's oozing with confidence as well. And so he should be. Even the celebration, you see him pull down his shorts a little bit, and he's like, "Yeah, I've arrived." And I think he's got no like inferior complex, has he? He looks like the main man, and I think with the one positive that you can talk about, which you shouldn't be a positive, but a positive is about the injury from Isak, is that he knows now. He's cemented his position over the next couple of months, and he's got every right now to, and every opportunity to cement that his position full time, because however long this injury is, I don't know if it's going to keep him out for the rest of the season. Then it's a long time, isn't it?
Yeah, the challenge now for Liverpool is that how do we get the best out of him with the injuries that we've got? So, we're still learning about him. It would be interesting to say, okay, to him, pick your ideal Liverpool team. Like, who do you want in there? Would he say I want? He's like alongside me. Well, mate, he wants the meal, didn't he? Yeah, everyone always says a meal. But what does he want? Does it, is it 4-3-3? In which case, also who's in the wide areas? Does he want wingers sort of getting crosses in which case, is he looking more like sort of Frimpong? That would be interesting for me, but that's the challenge for the manager now, because like you say, he is the main man and he's, going to be the guy who we're going to be relying on to fire the goals in for us. So how do we build a team around him to make sure we get the best out of him?
I think whether we like it or not, it wasn't how we perceived the season starting off, but when he was it Hoffenheim he was at? Yeah, last season, he was the main man.
No, Frank
First, he was the main man.
Only after Marmoush
left. Marmoush left earlier in the season, but he was the main man. I think right now he sort of is as well, so whether Salah comes back and plays on the right hand side and is brilliant, I still think he's the main man in that front line, so I think we will see it more geared up towards him.
I'm interested in Rob's solution. What is it? Until
Salah's back, and even after Salah's back, that's a different conversation. Formation-wise, I think I want to see. I'll be shot down this. I'd quite like to see Frimpong given a go as coming from a wide right area with Wirtz behind Ekitike, something like that.
I think that's why he signed him, because I genuinely thought he signed as a right back. But even and I know it's Tottenham away on Saturday, but when he come on, he kept Szoboszlai right back and he put him right forward, didn't he? So I think that is what he's going to do.
I think someone will have to play right back at the weekend. Because it's not Dom Szoboszlai.
Well, is Conor Bradley out?
I don't know. He went off injured at half time, didn't he? So, he does, so we'll have to wait and see. I don't know if Gomez is back.
Okay, on the injury issues then, may as well move it along and we'll start off with the forwards. Only one available forward. Let's be clear about this. Salah's absence is wholly predictable. Literally, the competition was going to happen. Liverpool knew that before the ball was kicked this season. The way the manager's currently got them playing, he probably needs the options of 4 forwards. I think that feels like a number. I think if we're going to continue to play this way, and I don't think there's a ton of moves, Rob. It's a week to Wolves. They've got 2 games to get through. Then they could get one in on the 1st of January. There's a squad registration question around that, with non-homegrown players. The Semenyo link perseveres from Liverpool's point of view. There is meant to be a release clause that has got a date that it expires, which I think is a perfectly reasonable way to do release clauses. There are some options for Liverpool, but my God, they've got to make some big calls. And if they're going to buy, they're going to have to invest some serious money. I'd like to think in a player that they think there's a long-term future for at the club.
Yeah, we are at the stage where another forward isn't just a nice to have; it's a must have. I think if we'd be going into this window with everybody fit and firing, if we'd seen the Mo Salah we saw of most of last season, even though AFCON was looming, we'd have still got. It doesn't last forever. Let's not get it out of perspective. We'll have that Mo Salah back. We just don't know what Mo Salah we get back after. A very disgruntled one that still can't look like the player he used to look like. So we're short there. Cody Gakpo has not pushed on from last season. Isak is now, hasn't been fully fit all season and now is not available for the rest of the season. So we have one guy, thank God he's in form, but it's him. It's basically from what we saw ourselves as having 4 forward options at the beginning of the season, plus the wild cards plural, there were Chiesa and N'Gamoa, but I wouldn't even call them B choices, they were C choices. Whereas the previous season we'd had 5 A choices and 1 C choice in Chiesa. We're going to this season with 4 A's, a C and no disrespect to N'Gamoa, a D arguably. I mean, such a raw young player. And now, of those A choices, players are missing. We are seriously on demand. This is what, as the sort of the news of the extent of Isak's injury seeped through, I began to feel whatever vain, vague, deluded hope I had of us re-entering the title race by picking up a couple more wins swiftly. It's really hard to see how with such limited physical personnel resources that Liverpool can mount a serious challenge. I almost felt the sliding doors of our season could have hinged on the nanosecond between Alexander's boot connecting with that ball and hitting the back of the net and taking us towards a brilliant away victory in Tottenham and his season being ended. Because people can be all cynical about Isak all they like. he was showing signs. A wonderful goal at West Ham. That was a great goal. He'd shown some bits and pieces in between. Isak was only going to be getting better for us. Let's put it like this. We were going to get a better version of him, and having the two of them and Florian Wirtz, being able to treat Mo Salah as a bonus. Now that felt like the building blocks of a title challenge if we could get our heads right and the rest of the structure of the team right. The Isak thing is a massive blow. So what do we do? Well, if we get the right player and he hits the ground running, this could correct a lot of this. If Mo Salah comes back and he comes back and angry, fired up, watch what I can do now, Mo Salah, great. I do think one of the problems we should solve, as well as solving, looking for a fix in the transfer market, I think we need to find a fix for Mo Salah when he comes back. We can now safely say he's going absolutely nowhere, even if he kicks off. He's staying till June. But we cannot be sticking Mo Salah, I don't think anyway, sticking Mo Salah on the right and asking him to do an impression of that genius who used to play on the right. Can't do that. We've got to find a way. So him and Ekitike could make a living together in the middle with Wirtz behind them, or some combination of those three. But whatever happens, transfer market, we must buy someone. And I would buy Anton Semenyo, because you've got a chance of him doing a bit of everything for you. And I know you and I argue about whether he can play central striker sometimes.
Well, he never has.
He has for his national team about 9 times. I was reading some stats on it. So
He never has for Bournemouth.
No, but I've watched him a lot centrally. But anyway, so I don't think Liverpool need to play him as a target man, number 9. They maybe need to play him in a 2 where he drifts a bit wide, or what have you, from either side. Or they may go back to some variation of the more standard front 3 setup. Either way, he's a good fit. He's gettable. Hopefully he wants Liverpool, because if those 3 coincide, then I would take him, and I'd still be going on to thinking about who the next one was. By the way.
I agree pretty much with everything that Rob said. The only thing I'd say with Salah, I think if he was to come back into the side, which I do think will happen, I do think he'll play on the right-hand side. And I think Liverpool, shocking form, and the fact that they've had about 100 right-backs behind them, and all the different combinations on his side of the pitch haven't helped them. I don't see him in a front 2. I think he's done it occasionally under Jurgen Klopp.
But I see a Sadio Mane kind of switch, not one based.
I just think Sadio Mane had that physicality to play with his back to goal. I don't think Salah's got that. I think what Salah's done over the last couple of seasons, and why it worked so well under Slot, is that he sort of became that creative hub, didn't he, in Liverpool's play. Like I always say, a bit like Harry Kane on the right-hand side, will still pop up and score goals. I also think, which is another conversation, maybe if Klopp was still manager, Salah wouldn't have worked there, because his defensive work wouldn't have worked. But I still think there's a universe where Slot can still get the best out of him, even if it is for the remaining few months. But with Liverpool, do they need to sign someone? I think they did anyway. I think regardless of Isak getting injured, Liverpool had to sign somebody, just because of all the reasons we gave before about Cody Gakpo becoming like an inverted left winger. He's not really a wide man or a slot. Loves playing with wide men. He done that with Feyenoord. So I don't really get the whole Cody Gakpo situation. I don't know how Luis Diaz was allowed to leave, if this is how Slot wanted to play football, and he gave Gakpo a new contract as well early in the season as well, do you remember? So it seems like I'm really attacking Cody Gakpo, and I actually like him. It's more the fact that it just doesn't make a lot of sense. And Semenyo's the obvious one for me, but so was all those other footballers that we signed in the summer. So whoever's signing these players needs to really have a think about what they're doing, and is the plan the right plan, and will he fit with these footballers? Because to me, it's not as simple as signing this player or that player. They have to work in the system, because we can't be here at the end of January or February saying, well, we've got to give them a little bit more time. There is no time. We're in the middle of the season. It's good. They've got to hit the ground running. Signing the Premier League lad would make sense. Someone who can play on both flanks makes sense. Cody Gakpo can play central at times.
Well, the player the other new signings who's hit the ground running the most is Ekitike, who won the Premier League. But he's the one who hit the ground the most. It's worth pointing out.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So for me, Ekitike was the most stylistically one that would always going to work. I mean, that's in hindsight, because I didn't even watch a lot of him, if I'm honest. But with Gakpo, we can play central if you need to give Ekitike a rest. Florian Wirtz, there was talking this summer that he might play centre forward at times. Obviously, a bit more false nine. False nine, like Bobby Firmino did. I don't think that's his position, but I think it's sort of like getting through the weeks. If that was
Could you play Salah and Wirtz behind Ekitike, like the old-fashioned double 10 Christmas tree formations. Terry Van.
Yeah, you never know. I think what Liverpool need to get back to how they play, even how they want to play consistently. Because right now, when I'm to be negative for a moment, when I'm watching Liverpool play, I think they were living week by week, but it's not going to last. Once the opposition find out the little weaknesses in your team, that's when they exploit them. And Liverpool need to be a bit more how we want to play, and that's what I'd be using the January transfer window for. And I think whatever forward you bring in, it needs to be this to make us attack how we want to attack. Because I think on either end of the pitch, we're not doing how we'd want to play. We're just getting through the games, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point from Peter, and they've shown in the past as well. The owners they won't buy. They won't certainly spend a significant amount of money on someone who is a short-term fix. And so I think they'll know, you would hope, that by they, I mean, on a slot, Richard Hughes, Michael Edwards, whoever is involved in sort of these decisions, where they've gone wrong in the summer, and they'll know what sort of needs to be done to fix it. And what they have shown in the past is that they'll bring people forward, if they may be looking at it in the summer, if need be, if the hand's forced. Sometimes that might be another club going in for your players. Sometimes it might be the sort of the way the season's gone. So they won't just look at it and go, well, we need to get, who's the best player we can get in. They won't do that, no matter how much we might want it. They won't, get a player in for a loan fee if they think it's a sort of a decent amount of money, sort of being involved, who's looking to and hoping they'll produce something. I think they got burnt in the past by the likes of Arthur Mello and things like that. So, but what they've shown that they will do is we were looking at Diaz in the summer, but we'll get him in January. Okay, well we're looking at this player, but he's available now and we need him now. So let's move. How serious they are about Semenyo, none of us know. I'm sure he's on a list, but maybe they've gone off him for whatever reasons. Depending on who you believe, Liverpool are either favourites to get him or they've slipped behind out of their own sort of choice. If they have, then they might decide that they want to start.
The big plus is the versatility that Rob's talked about, but also the fact that he's homegrown. One of the reasons why they're struggling to build this squad properly is because they don't have enough homegrown players.
Yeah, homegrown.
He's homegrown. Yeah,
even though he plays for Ghana.
Yeah. So he's down as he's a homegrown footballer, and one of the reasons why I think they're struggling to get to on a slot to two players in every position, and then it doesn't help when Endo and Chiesa take up two slots, I hasten to add. But and this is why you don't want to make mistakes, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
You end up with them, dealing with them, but they need, I think the idea of there being another couple of homegrown players in there that the manager's happy to pick would be no bad thing.
Yeah, but to go back to Pete's point, it'll be someone who they think could be in the team in 2-3 years' time. You don't know for sure, but someone who they think, in a post-Mo Salah world, who can I imagine starting games for Liverpool, and that feels like Semenyo could fit into that to me, but we'll see.
Did you see, and then you discussed it, I think, briefly on a WhatsApp last night. Could you see them doing something as wild as bringing in an Ivan Toney? Not instead of anybody else, but just go on. He's in as much as, and I don't consider that like an Arthur Mello signing. Because at the end of the day, I think we're on a cusp, although we're all made up to be joint fourth, as we keep saying, right, but top five anyway. I think the season's on a knife edge. It could incrementally improve. I doubt we'd get back in the title race, but we could cement our place in the top four. Okay, if that happens. I think we'd have to remain lucky with injuries if you take the squad at the current face value. But I think a couple more injuries in key positions, I think fourth, fifth could be in danger still. We could still have another bad series of results. And I wonder whether they'd be looking at that and going, shall we just, okay, we'd like to buy Semenyo, let's take that in theory. We'd like to buy Gahey, let's take that in theory, but maybe we need another body or two in there as stopgappy figures, if there are cheap market opportunities, just to get this squad over the line because of what's at stake in terms of the Champions League qualification.
I'd be really surprised.
I don't think they will, but I think they should. I think it was at Man United signed a couple of players in January a few times to get them over the thing for the title. I think Henrik Larsson coming, and there was another one from America, was it? Can't remember. They signed him on loan.
Well, Liverpool did Ronnie Rosenthal.
Liverpool done Ronnie Rosenthal. So there are things that you can do. I wouldn't be adverse to bringing in an Ivan Toney as someone who's to make that front five, because like Neil said before, we need 4. If you bring 1 in, that's still only 4. So I still think you need 5, but I just don't think Liverpool will do it.
I think you need the 20. I think it's worth them thinking about 24th and 25th men in the squads, but I think that those players would need to be homegrown for it to work. If you know what I mean, in terms of your numbers. But I think it's time
James
to start
Milner?
thinking about that and going from there. Midfield quickly, because I just want to sort of sum up. I think bringing Elliott back feels obvious. Does everyone agree?
Yes.
Yeah,
There's a case in point. There's an easy one. Yeah.
Yeah, I think he'd rotate with Jones. I think that'd help Jones stay fit.
I think he'd rotate with McAllister.
Yeah.
What's got McAllister doing at the minute?
Yeah, well, I was happy for Harvey Elliott to go because he didn't play football games, but I think in this new system he will get his minutes, and I think he'll be really integral to those minutes as well.
We could just be clear, because I keep hearing daft things about it. We definitely can have him back, can't we?
Yeah.
Want him, and
He can only play for us than Aston Villa.
Yeah. Just to be clear, I'm going to ask that on every show until he's actually. It's just got to be a no-brainer, that.
And you can do it on the 1st of January.
Yeah.
And he scores goals. He's got a goal in him, hasn't he?
Didn't he get bag 6 last season, and some important ones as well.
You got to say, didn't Divock Origi go on loan under Jurgen Klopp, didn't he?
Yep.
And he come back and then he became Divock Origi. Maybe Harvey Elliott will have his inner Divock Origi in him.
Jurgen loved him at first, and then he got the terrible injury from Funes Mori, talking about AL House defenders doing terrible tackles. And then it flipped around, and he was injured for a while, and then he sent him out on loan, did a period, didn't do very well, came back, and then Divocked his head off.
Yeah.
Well, he didn't even for ages. He did nothing. Then he come on out of nowhere against Everton, 1st of December,
And then
headed to one end.
Oh, that was that goal, yeah.
Yeah, but he hadn't. I'd say he hadn't scored up until that point that season. I think he'd barely been on the pitch.
Yep.
Yeah.
But anyway, we could do 2 hours on Divock's career.
They look a centre-back light. They're flying for left-backs.
Oh, lots of left-backs, yeah. And in theory, you've got a lot of people who can play right-back if you can keep them fit. Yeah, I mean, the Mark Gahey thing, and we're just drawing breath and praying at the moment that Ibu and Virgil stay fit, because we haven't got anybody else.
I don't think the Gahey thing's happening.
I don't think so.
They must know, though. They must have clarity on it.
Yeah, they must know internally. They must know
I think they're
internally.
going to
Not just generally.
Yeah.
Like, so there's obviously there's 3 possibilities. There's he comes in January, there's he comes in the summer, or he's going somewhere else in the summer. He's not signing a new deal with Crystal Palace. We wouldn't have talked.
No, no chance.
But do you think they know which of those 3, or do you think there's a chance they don't? And that would worry me. You don't think they know?
I would have thought they know.
Yeah, I would have thought.
One thing I do think, and it would make me slightly more optimistic about us getting him, is I can't help but think that the player on September the 1st, after the window slammed shut, he'd been denied his dream move to Liverpool, that his agent would have sat down with Palace and go, if you get an offer of X on January the 1st, you let my boy go, right? Because you've now got 3 months to replace him. It's on you now. You can't claim any mishaps. 3 months, January the 1st, you get an offer of X, you let him go. And whether they'd have codified it on a piece of paper or whatever, or would it be an absolute iron cast, firmest of manly handshakes agreement, I think there's a strong chance a number was picked on. Now, what will it have been? I don't think, if that did happen, it won't be the mad numbers I've seen people speculate on shows like, well, hang on a sec, Liverpool are desperate and he's worth more now, so they could ask 35 million. Because at those sort of numbers, Liverpool are going to go, no, we'll gamble and try and get him for free or move on from this. I don't think this is where the LFC principle, the FSG, Michael Edwards model is. They will not pay what they think they didn't have to pay. But if Gahey got an undertaking that it was 18 million or 21 million, which I think is quite possible, then I think Liverpool could be in the market. Of course, does he still want to go to Liverpool when he could quite happily go, I'll see this out with Palace, and I got the pick of the world's big teams come the summer.
Honestly, if I was Gahey's mate, I'd be telling them stay where you are. You haven't a
Well, I
lovely
think
time,
that
you're
is
the captain, you can win a couple of
I
trophies.
think that's the likeliest.
Yeah.
I think that's the likeliest.
And you get more money next summer.
The only thing
I don't like how confident Glasner is when he come out and said that he thinks that he'll be there till the end of the season. So
did Glasner say he thinks
Yeah.
he will be?
he said that in the press conference last week.
He himself, Glasner, was the player.
Glasner said that.
Of the player. So he thinks the player will be there till the end of the season.
Well, then I'd say that's the likeliest then.
All right then. Gutter tomorrow.
Yeah, why not?
It's out for free, I think.
It's the best price guy.
There you go. Check that out tomorrow.
We'll have loads more links by tomorrow. Be on and what's his face?
Ornstein loves a big Monday. He'll be up to something.
So he always is. Even before Christmas, can't keep him out the action. He's not got a thing sorted.
What was my lad linking us to online yesterday when I was laughing at him? Oh, Morgan Rogers.
Yeah.
Signed a new deal himself, though.
Yeah, signed a new deal in the summer. All right.
Killed me. Transfer link. Sorry, Rob.
Thank you very much to Rob and to John. It has been the Anfield Wrap this week. Liverpool are on a little bit of a march, but my God, they're limping.